Okay, so for this project, you will need a robe, a needle, a thread, and some scissors. I personally like the longer flowing sheer robes, but the option's up to you. As for the needle and thread, you can use a regular needle and thread. I tried to at first, but the needle was really small for me and I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to sewing, so I chose to switch out the needles and I ended up using a wig needle. I'll include a photo and I'll link the wig needles down below. That just seemed more easier for me. For the thread, you don't need anything special. I purchased one from Amazon and it was pretty cheap, and you just have to make sure whatever color thread you get is the same color as your feathers. Obviously, you'll need either some fake fur or some feather boas. I went with the feather boas just because it gave me more of a fluffy effect. There's different colors you can choose from. I suggest you go in person to a Hobby Lobby or a Jones or Michael's so you can actually see the feathers and match the color, because before I bought these I ordered some online and they were really skimpy and the white wasn't really a white color, so I tried to bleach it and then I threw it in the dryer and it was a total fail. It just looked horrible, and just don't do it. Just go to the store. Another helpful tool, but it's not necessary, is a wig stand. I make wigs and I like to style wigs, so I have one handy. I didn't buy it specifically for the purpose of this robe. If you don't have one, you can easily sew the same thing on the table, a chair, a couch, whatever is more comfortable for you. As far as the sewing goes, it's pretty repetitive. It's just in and over, in and over. I would just suggest that you space it out the same amount of inches in between each stitch consistently down. Once you get to the end of the robe or the end of your boa, you want to make sure it's secure. So once you know that this robe isn't budging, you're going to want to make a knot at the end, and you want to make it big enough so that way it doesn't go through the robe. Because I don't know what I'm doing, I made probably 5 knots in it. I went ahead and I did the other side off camera just because it can get pretty boring. It's literally the same thing, the same repetition. You're putting the needle and thread through the robe and going over. So it's just, in and over, in and over. Sewing the feathers to the wrist can get a little tricky just because you want to make sure you sew it and the wrist area is still able to stretch. That way you can get your arm through. I suggest putting the needle and thread under the wrist seam. I'm not sure if seam is the word I'm looking for, but I included an arrow, that way you see where I'm sewing. And as I'm sewing, I'm stretching the wrist area just to make sure I have it right. Y'all, don't let this fast forward for you, because it took me a good 2 movies to get this done. It could have something to do with me not knowing my way around a needle and thread, but I would set aside at least an hour and a half to get this done. Either way, it was worth it to me because I seen prices online for the same robe going for, I don't know, anywhere between $90 to 2 something, and I definitely wasn't about to pay all that money for a robe that I'm probably gonna wear a couple of times a year, if that. I can definitely see myself wearing it when I'm trying to be, grown and sexy, but with a toddler, that don't happen too often. The only reason I ended up getting the materials and wanting to make the robe is for my birthday photo shoot, and I'll attach some photos, that way you guys can see the final result.